Writing is considered to be the most challenging section of the OET exam, but if you take time to practice well before the test, you can get a great score. Let's talk about what it takes to write an amazing letter. Hi, I'm Sharon, and I'm glad you've joined me for part 3 of our OET overview series. In this video, we're going to talk about OET writing. The key skill you're being tested for in OET writing is your ability to turn notes from a patient's file into organized and complete sentences. First, we'll look at what you can expect to see in this task. Then we'll talk about how it's scored. And after that, I'll describe a sample task in detail for you and give you some tips to help you succeed. In OET writing, you'll be asked to write a formal letter based on case notes provided to you. This section of the test is based on your occupation. For example, if you're a doctor, you'll get medical case notes. If you're a nurse, you'll get nursing case notes. And the letter you're asked to write will also be relevant to your specialty. It could be the kind of letter you'd be expected to write in the course of your daily work. The total time allowed is 45 minutes. You're allowed 5 minutes to read the notes and 40 minutes to write. You should be able to transform the brief case notes into complete sentences in a formal business style. Try to write between 180 and 200 words in the body of your letter. And finally, the score you'll need for registration depends on the requirements of your specific registration body. For example, doctors need 350 or a B grade, whereas nurses may require a B grade or a C+ grade, which is 300. It's always a good idea to visit the website of your specific registration body before you take the OET test, so you know what's required. Now, before we talk more about how to write your letter, let's talk a little bit about how it's scored. Since it's not a simple question that is either incorrect or correct, your letter will be scored by at least 2 assessors who are looking for specific things in your letter. Let's look more closely at what they want to see. They'll grade your letter according to purpose, whether the purpose of your letter is apparent and explained well in the letter, according to content, if you have included all the necessary information, conciseness and clarity, meaning you have omitted unnecessary information, style, if your letter is appropriate for the intended reader, language, if you've used good grammar, spelling, punctuation, and vocabulary, and if your organization is logical and you've used a proper letter layout. And spelling is important in the writing section. The assessors will make a note of any spelling mistakes you make. And now that you know what the assessors are looking for, let's talk a little more about the construction of your letter. Your letter will be based entirely on the information written in the case notes you're given at the beginning of your task. Your job is to select the relevant information, put it in a logical order, and write complete sentences in a formal and professional format. Let's take a look at some typical case notes. Right at the top, you'll see your occupation. Then you'll see information about the patient you are referring. At the end of your case notes, you'll find your writing task. This tells you more about the kind of letter you need to write and who you are writing to. Usually the letter will be a referral letter, but it may be a transfer letter, a discharge letter, a general information letter, or something else. Your first job is to choose what information is important, what information is repetitive, and what information should be omitted. Now let's look a little more about how your letter should be written. You'll be writing in a formal business style, and there are 8 parts to a letter like this. Let's look at each one of them. Here's a sample letter written from the case notes we used as an example. Of course, your writing will be different, but it should be similar to this. The first part of an OET letter is the address. Put the recipient's address at the top of the letter. Start with their name, then his or her job title, followed by the mailing address. The second part of the letter is the date. Leave one line space after the address, then write the date of your letter. You can use the date you're sitting for the OET test. Part 3 is the salutation. Leave another blank line space, then write your greeting. Using the word dear is very standard and acceptable even in formal business letters when you're writing to someone you've never met in person. Be sure to use a comma at the end of your salutation. Part 4 is the patient reference. Leave another line space after your salutation. Start with re, R-E, and a colon, then your patient's name. Give very brief information about your patient. Here's a fun fact. Re is actually a word, though we typically think it's an abbreviation for regarding or in reference to. And that's actually what it means, but the word re is an Old English preposition that comes from Latin. This is the only place it's ever used in modern English, and now you know something that most English speakers don't know. After the patient reference, now we come to step 5, the body of your letter. Leave another line space and begin writing. Just like any formal letter, an OET letter also contains an introductory paragraph that summarizes why you are writing. The next 2 or 3 paragraphs should cover the relevant information from the case notes. This is where you mention medical history, social factors, previous treatments, and so on. The order of this information should depend on the order it was described in the case notes. There isn't one fixed format to use here. Step 6 is to add a closing sentence. This is basically just a sentence offering your continuing help if needed. Step 7 is to skip a line and add your closing. Typically, this is something like sincerely or cordially, and be sure to use a comma after your closing. The last step is to end the letter with your signature. We go over OET letter writing in much more depth in our other videos, so be sure to check out the links in the description below. OET recommends writing between 180 and 200 words in the body of your letter. But this is just a recommendation. Your actual word count can vary by a small extent. Watch our video specifically about word count for OET writing. And now let's look at some tips to help you with your letter. Remember that you'll have 5 minutes to review the case notes and 40 minutes to write. It's important to remember that during your 5 minutes of reading time, you're not allowed to use a pen or pencil. During your writing time, you will still be able to look at the case notes. However, try to keep this to a minimum so you can use all the available time to write and proofread your letter. My best advice about this writing task is to practice, practice, practice before you sit for the exam. Then, get some feedback from a trainer who's familiar with specific OET requirements. You'll find sample case notes on our website at edubenchmark.com so you could practice writing letters. Then try our OET Writing Correction Service. An experienced OET trainer who's familiar with OET requirements will check your writing and give you feedback on what mistakes you tend to make and how you can correct them. Here at Benchmark Education Solutions, we understand how your writing test is scored, so we can help you in very specific ways to improve your writing. Thanks for joining me today for part 3 of this overview series. I hope this helped you learn a little more about what to expect when you write your OET letter. Leave us a comment and let us know if you have any questions. And while you're down there, be sure to subscribe to our channel if you haven't yet, and click the bell notification. If you give us a like, it helps us bring you more videos like this one. I hope to see you in part 4 of this series, where we talk about the last part of your OET exam, the speaking section. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.